Well, this shot really does not do this place justice, but it's dark and I can't really compose it any differently. So trust me, it's a very amazing place. But I know from this angle, anyway, let's move on. It has been about 19 or 20 hours that I've been awake. Started at 3:30 this morning, and yeah, and it's been a long day, a long tiring day. I think the last 4 hours I was really sort of in a low, sort of staying awake, but did not have the energy to match everyone else that were just in a very high state. So for me, I think that lack of sleep was catching up with me, and still is. Though I will note, it is very interesting that I was able to make it the whole day and still have a decent amount of energy. Yeah, it's just crazy how kind of biorhythms can actually get you through a day. So when people or me feel tired, at a certain point where you don't really have to feel tired, you just kind of feel yourself getting, because when you feel tired, it's not from a lack of sleep. You just kind of have to push through it, and if you can push through it, then you can, have the energy back and make it. Now I couldn't do this more than one day in a row, but I'm just saying for one day. For one day I can go 24 hours, not a problem, except for being tired towards the end. So this day started at 3:30 a.m. after getting to bed at probably 1:30 a.m. So 2 hours of sleep, which is not ideal, but there was no choice. I just had to have that happen. So yeah, get up at 3:30, get out of the house around 4:20. So not a lot of time. Walked to the train station, which is actually pretty fun, and then go down in the train station, and the train came on time, and then took off towards Seattle. Oh, and one incident on the train is it stopped right before Tukwila. It just stopped, and it was probably a good 10 to 15 minutes, and they finally said somebody had tried to open the doors or something, some crazy thing, and they had to reset everything. So that was a little concerning. I figured it wasn't going to be delayed that long, but it did sort of upset my schedule because I wanted to go to the roof of the parking garage again and see how many spaces were left, and I wanted more time for the lounge. All that kind of got killed because I only had a short window of extra time, and that got used up during that stoppage. But I did finally get to the airport, and I just went through security. I used Spot Saver this time. Actually, it's probably my fourth time using it, and it really helped. I mean, it probably cut out. The main thing that I needed to avoid was not checking a bag, because that line was just chaotic. I could not believe how long that one was. But what I did do is had a Spot Saver, and that just got me to the front of pretty much the conveyor belt area, and had no problems with that. So I did get to the lounge and use up my last pass, and it was I was only in there probably about 10 minutes tops. There wasn't much food anyway. The food selection is kind of weak, and not supposed to be like the biggest lounge. But I had a bagel, and that was it. Bagel, some cream cheese, and then I was out of there. Boarding went fine. Yeah, I was in the first group because I was first class and a 100K member, so that was kind of, that was good. Yeah, this first class upgrade helped me in several ways. I was very thankful to get this time, especially this time. So I did have a window seat, so I was able to kind of look out the window, although I kind of kept it down most of the time and raised it up for different periods, especially flying through California. Had a pretty good meal. I ate probably maybe half of it, but a nice snack, and I actually passed the first time on a drink, just had water, and I did get a drink like the second time they came around on the flight a little later after that, so I wasn't really big on having too much booze because we're gonna be drinking here. And one cool thing that I did notice was the change in the terrain. So going from the Pacific Northwest and then going down California, all the different scenery there, but then getting, I think we were over Arizona, and getting down into Mexico, everything's so dry for a while, in Arizona too, and dry, then it starts to transition into being green, and then green, and then get to the coast. So yeah, that was some of this stuff I saw out the window, the terrain, the earth, just stuff I've never really seen before, so it was pretty cool. It makes me even want to go visit those areas and just say, like, what are they like, or what's it like being down on the ground in those areas. So that was actually a cool part of the trip. And I did get to use my new Wi-Fi, even though I waited to even activate it towards probably the last hour and a half. I just wasn't really feeling like using Wi-Fi, but finally got it going. And it is a nice perk, so I think I am going to enjoy that perk because I'll have it for every flight. I say that even though I just said I also hardly used it at all. But it was nice to have it, that bonus, that benefit. Now, of course, getting off in Puerto Vallerta, that was a whole different part of the adventure. For starters, going back to that first class upgrade, well, one of the main things isn't really boarding first, but it's getting off the plane first. Especially when you have to go through something like customs. Now, back in the States, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's nice to get off faster, but here, your position in the immigration line just can be night and day difference if you are on the back of the plane, because you have to factor maybe 160 people are going to be in line before you, and each person, I don't know, even if it's a third of a minute or something like that, that's like an hour, extra hour. So it was really nice being at the front. Now it was still, I did time it, it was still about, I think it was 20, well I wrote it down, 20 minutes for the first part of immigration, being at the front of the line even, because there's still other flights and people before us. But it kept moving. It was a long line, but it kept moving, so that wasn't bad. But then when the second part, the customs, where they did the bag check, that was, 27 minutes. So I'd already been in these lines for about 45 minutes. That wasn't enjoyable. It just went so slowly. It was just so many people. The line just wrapped around, and it moved. So at least it wasn't just stopped the whole time. It moved fairly quickly. It was just very long. But after, close to an hour of really doing all that, I finally was out the door and ready to go to the Airbnb. Now, if I do use a taxi or need to, take a ride share in a foreign country, I do usually go to the one at the airport, and they're trustworthy. They're going to probably charge you maybe more than a private driver, but at least it's legit, and it's the airport kind of sanctions it. So I did that this time, and it was, I would say, $38, but it was a long drive. I almost want to say it was an hour, but maybe 45 minutes to an hour. But it was just a long, slow drive through a lot of stoplights and small streets and up hills and through traffic. So I did not expect that. But the driver was cool, very, very nice. And luckily I had some good instructions to present to him, because I was very confused on where to go. The addresses were giving me different places. It was just a little chaotic there. But finally got up this nice hill and through the security gates, which is a cool bonus of this place. And I gave a really nice tip, like $20 actually. I tipped $20 because I also didn't have any pesos. I tipped 20 American dollars, but for that amount, I'm sure that's perfectly fine. And then I was here, got to meet everybody and hang out and catch up and start partying with them. They started very early, of course, but it was fun. I got to get checked into my room, I suppose, and just do the drinking, the drone flying, the dining, and all this fun stuff, and meeting the staff. So the cooks come over and they prepare our meal, and it's like being at a restaurant. You sit down, all this food, they bring all this food. They had a lot of food, really good food. So that was actually a lot of fun. Yeah, and I will say that all of that training that I was doing, Duolingo, it helped a lot. I'm not saying I can have full conversations, but I can tell people what I need, or like with getting directions to get to this place, I was able to communicate a lot better, way better than my trip to Mexico City. So I'm really glad I wish I did more, sure, but it's a really good step to know I'm at this point where I can talk to people. Hearing and understanding the answers, that's still going to be very difficult for a long time, I'm sure, or just a lot more practice. It's not so much time, it's just a matter of how many hours you put in of good practice with someone that can really help. So that's about it. Yeah, it was a whole evening of just hanging out and talking and joking around, and it was a really nice to be here with a great group of friends. And I look forward to the next 4 or 5 days. So I'm going to be here a while, so which is good because it's a nice place. All right, that's it for now. Cheers.